Welcome to Babbling Buffoons. All babbling, all buffoonery. I'm Alex.
I'm Bill.
I'm Jack, and today we're going to be talking about digital ID, the step forward, or is it a step too far?
Interesting. Me, I don't know. It's a split. I see it being a good step forward for certain aspects, but it can also be a step backwards for aspects depending on how it's ran.
Right, and there's a few places in the world today that are implementing it. We know China. I believe Russia might be in the process of doing it, or either they are. But the big news right now is Great Britain, UK. So it's definitely scary.
I mean, like I said, it can be, but also at the same time, it also depends on how it's implemented. Because I mean, when you think about China doing it, they're all about it's a dictatorship over there. So like they're probably using it for like to keep people in line to give a false sense of like, oh, our country's looking good because I heard it's run off of social scores. So like if you do bad things or anything in general, it goes down and then you lose access to stuff, and they want you to stay positive and everything. So if it's ran that way, yes, that's a step back. It's not good. But if you run it a different way, it could be a positive thing. It just, again, depends on how it's used.
What do you think, Billy?
I think that makes a lot of sense, honestly. But there could be a lot of ways that they're going about doing the whole process in different countries. Because there could be different angles and different ways of using it and setting it up. Like some people could set it up for a way of like, let's say, for example. It could also just be there to protect everybody, and they're not really necessarily trying to like take over everybody's lives.
Well,
I
you would
mean,
think that, right? And you would
right.
hope
I
that
mean,
would be
that
the
would be the
case.
one thing that you could actually just think about, that if that's going to be the real case. But then there's also things behind it that could come up later that you really didn't think that was going to be there.
Well, let's put it this way. If it's a step forward and it's done correctly, like you're saying, that's going to be beneficial for the people. However, the other part of the topic is a step too far. Now we get governments watching us. And that's not just watching us with cameras. They don't have to watch us with cameras anymore. Because with digital ID, they know where we're at all time. So you better believe they're going to have, GPS linked to it?
Okay. I'm going to just throw this out there. If you really think about it, we kind of all, in a sense, all have a digital ID without having a digital ID by the government. Because think about it. Everyone's got a cell phone nowadays. Even kids that are 7, 8, 9 years old have a cell phone.
Right.
They all have GPS in them. So if you really think about it, they already know where everyone's at. It's just what they're basically doing is like how we grew up having all sorts of different things. We had to, like, if we wanted to listen to music, we had to have a CD player. If we wanted to get on the internet, we had to go to our computer. We had to watch a show on TV. Like, we had like 7 different items that are all now compressed into our phone. Now we're kind of starting to reach that point again with all these different things of our, banking accounts being all digital, currency being all digital, everything's starting to be like that. So now we're going to yet another phase of just compressing it all into now just a digital ID.
So do you believe that's a step too far for our government to be able to do all that in a single thing?
I mean, they already do in a sense, just behind the scenes. With this one, it's more open doors, just going, hey, we're letting you know that we're following you, but I mean, they're kind of, if you really think about it, they have access to all the phones, through the phone companies. Even though they say they don't, they do.
The Privacy Act, of course. But other countries don't have that, right? We do here. But in the UK, I don't believe they actually have that. I think they actually can be listened to. I'm not sure.
Well, I know a lot of their streets have cameras everywhere that watch everything and whatnot. Like, they have a full control system over there of monitors and stuff of watching the streets and whatnot. That much I do know. So, like, that's just on the outside, though. Like, not in people's homes and stuff. But, I mean, for me, I don't necessarily... I could, like I said, see it being a step back in certain areas. But at the same time, the plus side of it being a step forward is everything's all in one. And, it keeps track of everything you need to know. So when, if you go to you don't necessarily have to, wallet can't get stolen no more. You don't now have to cancel your card, get a new driver's license, have to, do all these other things and whatnot. It's all convenient in one access point and stuff.
Right. I got so much I could say on that, but that's for another segment because that dives deep into one of our next ones coming up. Okay, so we know it's a step forward. Every country is going to go to it. Every country is going to try. The UK is a powerhouse when it comes to financial stability and how everything they do over there is implemented in every country that has the banking network in it. UK set this standard a long time ago, and I think they're going to set this standard now for it as well. But talking to a friend of mine that's over there, he actually said that King Charles is totally against it and is actually with the people on it. And this is the prime minister, I guess, is pushing for it to go forward.
I didn't actually know that the king was, all that against it.
That's what he has told us, and he's going to hear it from his media over there before we're going to hear something totally different. But over there, I guess, yeah, the King Charles is against it.
Well, it all depends on if it actually does reach us and whatnot. So I mean, it's probably not that far behind, but it could happen.
I mean, if you think about it, we already did what AI versus human,
Mm-hmm.
the benefits of it and the disadvantages of it. But now you got digital ID being implemented quick. It's fast. Okay, China did it, but theirs is based, I believe, on social, and we'll get into that in another segment. But the UK is definitely a worry for me, and for here in the United States.
It is a little bit, but I mean, I'm also trying to look at the positive benefit of it, and one of the best positive benefits of it, in my opinion, is you would cancel out false IDs and stolen IDs instantly.
Right.
You could no longer falsify who you were, so that then, would cut down on, if you really think about it, terror attacks, other segments of crime and stuff like that actually, would be, obviously, criminals wouldn't get it from the government because they would do everything they could not to try to do it. But if you think about it, say it starts getting implemented, the moment you're born, you get this chip in you and stuff like that monitors and stuff, or you wait till you're a certain age to get it, because of finances and stuff, or certain things are added. That could be, as you get older, when you hit a certain age, okay, now we'll add a credit score to you, but that's a different thing. But if you think about it, then crime would essentially start to go down, because if the government knows where everything's at, where you're at all times, and if you commit a crime, they're going to know. And if you think about it, murders would go down. Other forms of types of attacks and stuff like that could go down and whatnot. Now, what goes on behind the scenes of what the government does with their people and stuff, that's a whole other story we wouldn't know.
So
but
let me ask
on
you
the
this.
outside, it could be a big beneficial to stop a lot of that stuff from happening.
Let me ask you this, and I'll ask Billy the same question. I'll let you guys get both your says in on it. But you're talking government, right? Governments would have their hands in everything from us. But however, one thing that you failed to mention, crime would go down. I don't believe so. I think criminals will opt out of getting this chip. They will never be able to be tracked. I'm going to bring this to another topic, off subject, is a big thing in the United States is our Second Amendment, gun control. Gun rights. Should we take them away? Should we not have them? Should we be like every other country out there, taking them away from their people? Criminals will always have them. So criminals are always going to be able to commit crimes without being tracked. I mean, if you think about the United States and how many people's in it, they got a lot of people in it, to where now we got civilians that are done like this, but we got criminals that are not. We got convicts coming out of the prisons, which I think something would probably be implemented there for the government to say, well, if we're going to release you, then we're going to put a chip in you.
That should be mandated when you being released from prison.
Right. Let me ask you a question, though. We're going to talk about that a little bit later, but let me get in on it real quick. What do you feel about when a prisoner comes out, if they implemented with this chip, but let's say they only got arrested for marijuana? Marijuana now in the United States, for most states, what, are illegal? Federally, it's not. State it is. But do you feel like the prisoners should have it for just even a minor offense?
Now, I'll answer that real quick, and then I'll let you answer real fast, Billy. if you're being released for a crime that has been legal, that has been like changed over in legalized state, and your crime was a misdemeanor of it, wasn't a felony, it was a misdemeanor of the state, you should get, like pardoned for it. It should be off the record, and you shouldn't get the chip implemented. But if it's a felony crime, obviously felonies can't be erased off of it, so then you would have to do it because it's only legal in the state. If it's still illegal on a felony level, then you would get it. But now, say if somehow the government decided to reclassify marijuana and put it down into a category where it was legal federally, and you had a federal charge of marijuana, then again, same principle, have yourself pardoned, taken off, and whatnot. But if it's legal statewide, no, you shouldn't get the chip because, it became legal while you were still serving. But if it's illegal still federally and you had a federal charge, then yes, you would need to get it. What do you think, Billy?
Yeah, I agree with you on that one, honestly, because that makes a lot of sense. Considering that weed is now like legal in some of the states at the point right now. So like, I mean, especially we've got like places now like what are they called? Dispensaries now that are out there, getting them grown for us to like, use for medical purposes and stuff like that. So yeah.
Yeah, because some states are for some states are for medicinal only. Some states are for recreational and medicinal right now. Right. There are still some states that it's still 100% illegal. Not every state has approved it for one or both and stuff like that. But I think there's only maybe a handful left.
So for here in the United States, we don't want to get off too much subject onto that. But for here in the United States, do you think that's a step too far if they're telling them they have to have it to leave jail? Or do you believe that it's a step forward in them helping get most of the population on board with digital ID?
I think it's a step forward both on getting it on board, but also the fact is that with being a criminal and whatnot, we're trying to make sure that they don't become repeat offenders. So if we give them that ID and tell them, like, look, we know where you are at all times. We know exactly, if you commit a crime, and when someone says it's you, we're going to find you no matter where you run and hide and stuff like that. And it's like, you have a chance here to not become a repeat. Like, you're not going to be able to hide from us. No criminal ever will. So even if someone who gets paroled for 10 years or off whatnot, every criminal will be able to be tracked. So that'll be a big step forward, in my opinion, for them to not repeat a crime. Because some of them get out thinking, I'll hit a grocery store, I'll hit something up, get some quick cash and bail out of town. No one's going to find me.
So what do you and Billy think about the UK and doing it to, they're trying to sell it to their population as this will help keep an eye on immigrants. Are the immigrants legal or are they illegal? Do you think this is a way they're trying to get the majority of the people bought in with the idea of having it? Because now a certain population will have it and the other population are saying, no, we don't want it. Do you think this will help get them on board?
I think it might, in a sense, but at the same time, though, if they are illegal and they aren't actually in the actual system for that country, then obviously they're probably going to either decline it or they're going to get deported still, in a sense. Because, if you think about it for a second, I know this is probably going to sound stupid. This is just what I'm thinking right off the top of my head.
Battling buffoons, man.
But anyways, though, for all the problems that we're generally having right now with, people immigrating right now and stuff, we're already having to go through the processes of, going and finding who has actually been, brought out here illegally and, not only using the system, but they also have to go into physical standpoints of finding the people to figure out where they're located at.
And see, that's something I've actually thought about with the ID too, and that's where I think it is another step forward, is it would prevent that from happening, because then, if everyone had that ID and you try to get into a country illegally and say, you try to go to a welfare office or something and they go to scan your ID, they're going to see that you didn't go through the proper channels to actually have access or citizenship or grantsmanship, whatever it's called, to get into that country. And they're going to instantly know, because where are you going to be able to go and not know? Because the moment you cross the border, because they'll have those borders digitized and stuff like that to sense that. And to think about it, the moment you cross, it'll set off an alarm going, we got someone crossing here in section C2. Get a team out there right now. We got a group crossing in section D9. send a squad, you know. So I think it could be a big help, but the process at the same time is you got to figure out what you're dealing with inside already before trying to convince everyone to take the chip, because you're going to have people, you're still going to have hometown people that do, then hometown people that still don't. So
Right.
But also, there is one other thing though too. I'd like to really say though is like, will they still have to also still take the tests and stuff too if they implement these chips? Because
I
there
mean-
is a test for citizenships in every country, right?
Well, yeah. So citizenship and immigration is a little two different things. Here in the United States, you have to be in the United States for a certain amount of time before actually applying for citizenship. Then you got to take a test. I'm pretty sure, basically, let's say, I'm not sure, honestly, all the way, but let's just say, for an example, if you're an immigrant, you're coming over, you're doing it legally, they put a chip in you. I would almost want to say the government would still want that money, because guess what? It's not cheap for immigrants to become citizens here in the United States. There's a long process, a lot of money, and if they deny their green card, they deny their access, they have to reapply for it, which is more money. So it's just a money maker for the United States. You know, a bunch of people that we work with, they become citizens, you know, just so that way they think they're legal to stay here. Under our new policies, that could be a little harder, I would think, in here, especially in the near future, if they're just trying to, you know, deport people. But coming into the country, they'll probably give them a chip to be tracked. However, what do you do with people that's already here illegally? It's harder to find them. I mean, I'm sure they can.
well, here's an idea and a way to do it. Say, you know, you tell people, you know, you convince, you know, the people that are here legally to get the chip. Say you manage to do that, okay? Then you let everyone know, okay, everyone that has the chip, we're going to do a grid scan of the area to find out what houses and what areas do not light up showing lights of people in the area. And we will first start there to send people, you know, to these houses to look for those who might not be in this country legally and whatnot. Because think about it, if an illegal doesn't want the chip and he don't want his family to get the chip, none of them are going to get it. So that house won't show no being or light up. So you start there. If it's abandoned, okay, it's abandoned. But if people happen to be there, then you start to check for ID and process. And if they happen to be citizens, then you go, why haven't you, you know, then you can ask questions to do different things. That's just one strategy part if you can convince all the people to get the chip and stuff. But that's just one process. There's could be other different meanings or ways to do so.
Right,
That's
there's so
just
many-
one idea.
So many open doors there, so to speak, right?
Yeah.
So, again, criminals probably will not get the chip because they're criminals and they don't want them to be tracked or found, right? Second, illegal immigrants that come across or through a different port won't be caught either right away because, hey, we got in here and we snuck in. So a step forward would be, helping with immigration, helping with the correct people being here. Now, a step too far with that is we're giving immigrants a chip. Not in their country. What if their country has a chip? Now we're giving them another chip, or do we have to remove that chip?
Well, no, if their country gave them a chip, then that's where that whole digital border wall thing would come access to. Our system that we would probably have implemented would be able to scan any chip that crosses that line, and that's where we'd be like, send a squad over to this sector. We got someone coming through. If they're coming from another country that has a chip. But if they're coming from a country that doesn't, we give them one of ours because we'll probably be able to mass manufacture them. We give them one, send them back. So then if they try to cross us again, guess what? They got a chip in them. They got scanned through a different sector. They get arrested and serve jail time, or whatnot, or get sent back to their, you know. So like we'd be able to keep track of them and stuff. So that would be one way to be able to deal with it.
So again, seems like a lot of positives. Does. But at the same time, we see a lot of people in countries that have it, especially the UK, fighting against it.
I mean, I could see the negatives because, yeah, like I said, like, you know, you could be the most perfect citizen on the planet. You just say one wrong thing, like your wrong opinion, and then all of a sudden the government could just be like, 200 points off your social score or your credit score or whatnot, you know, or there is negatives to it because with them having kind of the control with it, you know, it almost, even though they say we're not going to really do nothing, we're just doing it to help you, they can at any point take something away if you do something wrong.
So if they're doing it in the UK and they decide to do it here, being a step too far, it would go against our constitutional rights. Our constitution that was implemented at the start of our country, it would be against their rights, privacy, and everything. So I mean, as we know, change is going to happen regardless, and unfortunately, I believe our children and our grandchildren are going to be punished for it when they are made to believe it's a positive and it's not.
Possibly. It just really depends. It also depends on how we do things. But, all right, you guys, we are out of time. We will catch you guys later. We hope you enjoy this episode. Again, I'm Alex.
I'm Bill.
Jack?
This has been Babbling Buffoons. All babbling, all buffoonery.
Remember, guys, to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, help us get our stuff out there, so that way we can talk to more people. Thank you.